Peter, welcome to Junkyard Theory. Thank you so much for doing this. If you don't know, Peter's got a new movie out called Descendant. Please go check it out. If you are a UFO enthusiast, you like alien abduction movies, Descendant is the film for you. Peter, thank you for joining us and thanks so much for doing this. It's
Thank you.
amazing to have you on the show.
Well, thanks for having me on.
I want to know what's your origin story?
My origin story. Wow. How far back of an origin story do you want?
Let's talk about how you got into filmmaking.
Okay. I started acting in high school. I was doing plays and things like that, and just kind of caught the bug and was always I was always writing short fiction, and I loved the creative outlet. Like, and I took visual arts. I was actually an art major in college. So I was always interested in the arts, any form of expression. I always felt like I was more articulate with my thoughts through my work, rather than having a conversation. So we'll see how this podcast goes. No, I feel like I can communicate better through my work. And so anyway, I studied art in college, but so I ended up with a graphic design degree because I wanted to be employed, when I got when I got out of college. And I'm dating myself a little bit, but the internet and websites were really starting to become a huge thing. And so being a web designer was a great gig, and I was doing that in some local theater in the Midwest after college. And then I was just like, you know what, I really want to go out to LA, and I want to give this a shot and see if acting is going to work for me. And so I moved to LA, and it was great. It was the early 2000s, and it took a minute for me to get work. But once I did commercials, there was just a lot of it. You could make a really good living as a commercial actor at that time. And then things started to shift. Non-union work came in. More celebrities started doing commercials stateside. In the past, Clooney and Pitt, they would do these commercials with like David Fincher that would only air in Europe or the Asian markets. And it was never stateside. And then something shifted, I think, in like 2010, and celebrities just started doing tons of commercials. It was harder and harder to be just a working actor. And also, I was writing along the way. I was taking writing classes at UCLA Extension at night, and I was learning the craft. And it just sort of evolved. And I got hired to write some scripts along the way, but was getting frustrated because things weren't getting made. And so I had this idea for this short film called Occupant, which you can find on YouTube on the Dust channel. It's under 5 minutes. It's a pretty tight little short, but I pitched that idea to Justin Benson, Aaron Moorhead, and Dave Lawson, the Rustic Films guys. And I was like, hey, would you guys help me make this? Can you produce this? And they hopped on board. We shot it overnight, one night, and premiered at Fantastic Fest. And we set up a feature version of it, and I thought that was going to get made, and that kind of fell apart. And then COVID hit, and when COVID hit, I didn't know what to do. I was out of work, and you can kind of see that bleeding into Descendant a bit, as far as Sean's point of view, and him struggling, because he's failed in some capacity, and he feels, or at least he feels that way. And I was kind of at a low point, and so I wrote this, and I developed it with the Rustic guys from the very beginning. And then we got another producer, Caleb Ward, on board. And then we got the financing and distribution. But it's a longer story than that. But basically, that's what kind of led me to writing and directing. with acting, Resolution was such a great experience, doing that film with those guys. Um, but then after that, the roles just, for whatever reason, it didn't take off like I thought it would, and also I got tired of just sitting around waiting for opportunities, and I think that was the thing. It was just my impatience, my frustration. I was like, well, I've got to keep writing, and now it's like, well, if the things I'm writing aren't getting made, I got to make something. It's just like I have to put something out there, and so that's how I fell into being a director. It's just out of sheer necessity to tell a story, and so I needed to take the reins on all fronts.
I think that's amazing that you had the drive to learn writing at the same time while you were still an actor, and you created this opportunity for yourself because with how the internet has developed, people nowadays, and how technology has evolved, like filmmaking has democratized. So there
Yeah,
is absolutely like no reason to not go out and shoot something even with just your smartphone. It's become
right.
such like a day-to-day thing. But at the same time, the skill of storytelling is something that you gain, I think, with time and experience. And for you as an actor, moving from acting to directing, having worked with directors, how was this shift like?
I loved it. I've been really fortunate. I've worked with mostly great directors who I love being around and who are good people. I have worked with a few yellers on commercial set, like big commercial sets, where there's lots of money involved. And this is 15, 20 years ago. Uh, and I hope actors are treated better, but in general, I've had really good experiences, and so I watched, how these directors operated, and sort of the tone they set on set, uh, and so I was ready to do it, and I was so excited to, and just that opportunity to collaborate with people I enjoy being around. One of the motto for the Rustic Films is make movies with friends, and that's just not. I mean, that's not just a slogan. They really they live that. They walk that walk. It's not all talk. And so I really love, um, that process of taking an idea that's in your head or on paper, and then working with a team of really talented creatives to make it even better and to get their input and all that. So I was excited, and also, I think the one thing with acting versus directing, I find acting, being on set as an actor, um, drains your energy quite a bit because there's so much, there's downtime, and then you have to be ready for this intense scene, and then there's a ton of downtime, and being a director, like, mentally, I'm constantly engaged and I'm constantly having to make decisions, and I love that. I don't get, I mean, yes, you get tired, obviously, but it's different, and you're constantly involved, and I find it really stimulating. Yeah,
There's a certain high that you get off of
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
definitely.
Would you consider yourself an actor's director?
Yeah, I would, yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been acting for, oh gosh, I mean, I 30 over 30 years now, and starting, in high school, and I think that was the most valuable tool I brought to Descendant. I mean, this is my first feature. I'd done a short, and there's a lot of technical things with directing that can be intimidating, as far as, the other departments are concerned. But if you have wonderful, talented people in those departments, you don't have to worry about that. You can focus on, being the keeper of the story, focus on the performances, and I'm able to work with these actors, and if they have an issue, I can relate to that issue because I've been in their shoes. There was there's a specific example. There's a scene in the film where Laurie confronts Sean about the gun when he comes in the apartment, and she lays into him. And the way it was written, he learns early on in that scene. We had a blocking issue essentially, and the way it was written is he learns up top that Andrea has fainted and fallen. And Ross came to me and he was like, "This doesn't make. If the minute I know this, I'm going back there. I'm there's nothing keeping me, holding me in the space other than what was written, which I wrote, right?" And a lot of times directors or in TV, if it's written this way, it says you have to sit in this chair, you just sit in the chair and you don't question it. You just do what's said. But because I was the writer, because I'm the director, and because I am an actor as well, I have control of, okay, well, let's rewrite it. Because I was like, you're right. Nobody caught it during the development process. It's not something that you would catch on the page. But once we got the scene up on its feet, and then the actors go, "Hey, I don't think this really works," and then you keep an open mind, and instead of digging in and saying, "Oh no, I wrote it, it works," you go, "Okay, well, why don't you think this works?" And then they tell you, and you go, "Oh, actually, you're right. It it doesn't work that way. Let's rework it." And then we were able to do that. So I think being able to collaborate and talk to actors and work with actors, that's my favorite part of the job.
Definitely, because as a filmmaker myself, something I've realized throughout the years is not to be too married to whatever you've written on paper,
Exactly.
and like, you know, uh, as long as the actors can get from point A to point B
Yep.
in terms of story, I
Yep.
don't necessarily care what happens, what they do in the middle, because yeah, the more authentic it seems to be, the better it is.
No, totally. And we rehearsed for a week before we shot, and we ended up reworking a lot of the scenes in the first act between Ross and Sarah because we realized we needed more levity in those scenes because the movie does get dark,
Yeah,
quickly as soon as he sees the light in the sky, and we can't start the story with him in that headspace. Then there's no journey, there's nowhere for him to go, and so we did a ton of improv, and I was rewriting scenes and things like that. But then, like, there's certain, and they would improvise some things, and I would rewrite, and so a lot of that stuff made it into the script. And that, the scene where they're in the car and he's like, when I get home, it's business time. I'm going to ink that deal. And he's like, because Ross is hysterical, and he's improvising this stuff, and they're riffing. And I was like, this is great. I'm just going to let them go. And it really, it really, it makes it feel so much more authentic, and it's one of my favorite scenes. And so there was definitely a mix of kind of scripted and improvised, kind of throughout. But mainly in that first act, I really wanted them to inject, uh, a little bit of life and levity.
what was the casting process like? Did you have Ross in mind when you wrote this, or did you guys like cast them much later?
Yeah, no, I did not have him in mind. We were. It's casting's so complicated as far as you know
Talk to me. I'm
getting.
going through it right now.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, the problem that we ran into, which a lot of independent films run into, is you submit the script to their agent or manager, and because it is a independent film that doesn't pay a lot, uh, it is hard to get that script then from agent or manager onto client. There are some agents and managers that are wonderful, and they share all these things. Um, but a lot what we found was that was not the case, and we couldn't get through to anybody. And I was watching Walking Dead, just looking at actors, and I saw Ross, and I was like, God, he's so good. And I remembered that Dave Lawson was good friends with him, my producer. And so I was like, let's not. I'm tired. Like, this movie's never going to get made if we keep going through agents and managers and try. I'm like, let's. Like, would Ross be interested? Because he's great, and I think he could knock this out of the park. And he sent it to Ross. I think it was like on a Thursday afternoon, and late in the afternoon, and then on Friday morning, I got a call from Lawson, and he's like, Ross read the script, he loves it, he's in. It took less than 24 hours. So, and Ross was sitting there all along, waiting to be picked, like he was like, and um and and he was fantastic, and I couldn't imagine anyone else playing this role. But I do think there is an advantage to being able. And Sarah Bulger, we knew her, through those guys as well. So we were able to get the material directly to her. We never actually went through anybody's representation, because all the supporting roles too, the majority of those actors are actors I've known for the last 2 decades, who I've worked with over. And I called them up and I said, hey, I've got this thing, I think you'd be great. We did auditions for these smaller parts as well. uh, and definitely, cast as wide of a net as we could. But then there were just certain roles where I was like, no, I think like Parvesh, who plays the principal, I did a movie with him many years ago, and I just think he's hysterical, and he just brought the right end. And so I wanted him to play that role, and he did. So it was I was very pleased with. Like, I love all the performances, even even the one scene, the smallest perform. I mean, from big to small, like, everybody, I think, just absolutely killed it.
That's very true because Descendant is definitely it's not a blockbuster. It's a character drama
Yeah,
with sci-fi elements in
yeah,
there, and I thought that was absolute genius because having watched Benson and Moorehead's earlier films like Resolution, then coming all the way to Endless, like that kind of shares a shared universe, and this kind of feels like it could fit right in tonality
yeah.
wise.
Yeah, no, I mean, I knew this was gonna be a rustic film from the beginning. I mean, down to uh, the ending, which some appreciate and others find frustrating. But it's like, of course, it's going to be kind of open ended because it's a rustic film. I'm not going to tie it up in a bow. I'm going to give you something to chew on. And by the way, all the answers are there. What happened? Like, it is clearly laid out. But you might miss it if you're reaching for popcorn, or if you're watching at home and you check your cell phone and you don't notice a certain detail or something. You may miss it.
It's definitely not the kind of film where you can miss a single frame. I would say you got to pay attention.
No, you got to pay attention. And I look, I love films that are not that are just pure escapism, and I don't have to think a whole lot. Like Armageddon, if it's on, I will watch that film because it's totally fun, right? Like, it's
Exactly.
insane. Have you heard the DVD commentary where Affleck is like, "Why wouldn't it be easier to train?" Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and yeah, um, yeah. So there's a time and a place for all that. Like, I love big popcorn stuff that's just pure entertainment, but I also, I want to think sometimes, and I want to challenge audiences, and so I think you have to be in the mood to be challenged a little bit. But
No, for sure. Because by the time I was done with the movie, and without spoilers, when the camera kind of tilts up to that wall, I was like, oh, so it's that kind of movie. This is where we
yeah. Well,
are.
and that's the only piece that is very intentionally ambiguous, which I have an
Mm.
answer for what it is, but like other people have other answers for what it is.
I
Um,
like that. I really like that because it's how do I put this? It's the kind of movie where towards the end it make it with the twist that comes in. You're like, huh, wait, what just happened? And then the final shot kind of helps you. Kind of eases you into it, if you get what I mean.
Right. Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, not to give any spoilers, but I think it's getting tidied up.
Hmm.
If you pay attention to what he's wearing when he comes back in the house, and you or the apartment, and you pay attention to her shirt that's on the bed, and we understand kind of and also what the pickup driver tells him in the pickup truck, which
For
is that
sure.
they've been digging around in your head all night. Like
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened. That if there's any question, like what happened,
I
that's what happened, right?
I thought that was pretty clear.
Yeah, but so that's all cleared up, and then but then I throw you for a curve with that last shot,
Last shot.
and I understand that that would be somewhat frustrating for people, but look, I yeah, I don't know, I mean, have you seen Enemy? Um,
Enemy by Denny.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
so I mean, do you know why there's a spider at the end? Not
uh, I mean, that's a sculpture as far as I know, but no,
that's what.
it's a sculpture, right? It's a sculpture somewhere.
Oh, I don't know. I was just like, I had to get online and be like, why is there a spider at the end of this movie? But I enjoyed it. Like I was like, oh, that's weird. Like I think for me, I don't have to totally understand something to appreciate it,
That's
and
true.
totally like know exactly, like, why is Jack Nicholson in the photo in the end of The Shining?
It's
Right.
sometimes the mystery that's appealing as opposed to the answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like
Yeah.
it's kind of like asking somebody what's the meaning of life. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
Some people say it's this, that it's binary, or maybe it's whatever you assign to it. Maybe
It's a great
discover it for
mystery.
yourself. Yeah, exactly. Uh, Whe- So I watched Occupant, which I thought was very well done, under 5 minutes, and I think that classifies as a micro shot.
I didn't know that was a thing. All right.
uh, how so? You earlier mentioned that you did Occupant and you kind of wanted to turn that into a feature. So were there elements of that were kind of carried over to Descendant?
Yeah, there because it very much about fatherhood,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
um and uh dealing with the anxiety of being a parent, and also the need to protect.
Mm.
Uh all of that
Yeah.
uh definitely, kind of bled into it, because people have asked me, "Oh, would you go back to Occupant and try, to do a feature?" And I probably wouldn't be. I would have to change, I think, the dynamics a little bit, and not make it about, a young family, just because I feel like I'd just be retreading old themes.
Why UFO abductions?
When I was a kid, I would see the book Communion in, like, the checkout line at the grocery store. Like, I remember seeing it at the grocery store. It was very
It's just
strange.
that cover had a very eerie spookiness to it. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, the image of the gray,
Yeah.
um, and alien abduction stories have always fascinated me, um, and I would always wonder, well, one, you know, did these really did these abductions really happen? Because these people are very convinced that they did, and there's something to that. There's something, like when someone is that convinced that it really happened, uh, it gives you pause, and so I was wondering, well, what would go through your head during an alien abduction? Like if they were to put tubes in your brain, what are they seeing essentially? And that's what the movie is, really. It's what goes through your head during an alien abduction, and I felt like it made a lot of sense, because I didn't want to show a lot of aliens because I didn't have the budget, right? So I needed it to feel grounded, and fairly terrestrial, and mix in the extraterrestrial elements throughout. Um, but I felt like it fit nicely with a father to be struggling with past trauma and needing to heal that old wound before he can, go, all right, yes, I can do this, I can be a dad, I'm going to be great, I'm going to be a great dad. And so I thought that that was a nice uh, vehicle for getting into his head and dealing with his issues. And so that's how the two kind of merged. And the idea of like that you're losing your mind, because again, I wrote this during COVID. And and there were, you turn on the news and you'd see something, you'd be like, is that real? Did that really, like, are we really, like, when the leader of the free world is telling you to put bleach in your veins, or just get some sunlight, you're like, wait, is that real? No, that can't be real. Like, did he really say it? And so this is so this idea of just questioning reality, because everything that was happening was so foreign and crazy, and we had never experienced anything like it. To have the world shut down essentially for months. And so uh I think that worked really naturally with a character losing his mind in one night during an alien abduction, because I feel like that would be traumatic. I feel like, it would be a pretty traumatic thing.
How much did the pandemic change you as a filmmaker? Because Occupant was done before the pandemic,
Yeah.
and then comes your debut feature. So during that time, there was, I'm guessing, like 6 years in between,
Hmm.
and a pandemic in there. How did your perspective on filmmaking, acting, essentially entertainment, or storytelling as a whole change?
I think it made me fight a lot harder to get things made, and to persevere through adversity, and to also to just keep putting one foot in front of the other. As far as, for me, like, if I'm struggling with something in life, writing for me is a really great outlet uh, to process that. Um, and I think, if anything, it strengthened my resolve, to just continue to make things, because the big theme of the film, it's all about control, right? And it's about how, when we lose control, we go to great lengths, and we often do silly things to regain control, that are never going to work, right? Like, his wife is having she's having preeclampsia in her pregnancy. Him getting a gun is not going to help that, right? But it's something tangible he can do, right? And I think there's so many times when life feels out of control that we do all these things. And for me, um I'm able to, like, write, the act of writing allows me to control a fictional world where I get to decide what happens to these characters, whether they live or die, whether they fall in love or not. It gives me a sense of control on days where I feel like everything is out of control. And I think, so that just the act of doing it, whatever the end product is irrelevant, but the process is is helpful for me. It's just what works for me. And it gives me some slice of the illusion of control, when really we have no control over anything.
That's true. It's therapeutic in so many ways to be able to, I guess, play chess with your characters and
Yeah,
make certain moves, but at the same time, you are making a ton of decisions which are also influenced by, I guess, what goes on in your day-to-day life as well. So
for sure.
again, it's like a hierarchy of puppeteering. You are being
Yes.
puppeteered by your the surroundings, people around you, and then you in turn puppeteer your characters.
Yeah, and it's a healthier way than like
Yeah,
bossing your kids around or yelling at them. Like I
that's very
think
true. It's an outlet.
it's an outlet, and yeah, like I said, it's a healthier one.
Mm,
I think more than the pandemic, I think having kids fundamentally changed me as a storyteller. Like I would not be obviously I couldn't make Descendant if I didn't have kids. Like
yeah.
in that kind of lived in experience, and the I think the the depth of my work is definitely at a different place than it was before kids.
That's talk to me a little bit about that. So how did fatherhood change you?
Fatherhood changed me in a really profound way, and I'm going to try to explain this in a concise way. But look, you can look when you find uh, a partner, a spouse. Um, that's one. It's easier to. I think in many ways it would be easier, but emptier to live your life by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Where you never get married, you never have kids, and then you
Mm,
don't have to worry about. I think when you fall in love with your partner and then your children, my God, the love you feel for your kids, you're so it's so deep and profound, but the fear of loss of that is so terrifying and
mm,
deep and profound, and that is the double-edged sword of having a family, right? You are gifted with the most intense love you could feel. Like i I care more about my wife and my children than anything in the world, right? But the thing that scares me the most is losing all of that, and I think that's what's so wild about all of it, because you want to experience that love,
yeah.
but that fear of that loss is terrifying.
It's you put it very nicely. The fear of losing that which you love the most, and I think that's kind of what you've channeled into Descendant as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hopefully, yeah. I mean, I think we all experience that.
we do. Yeah, and to kind of add to that, I recently saw this post, I think on Instagram or something, about like Steven Spielberg's filmmaking style, and somebody was saying that it's not, you see a lot of family drama in that, like, but
Hmm.
that's, underneath all of it, it's his trauma that made him the filmmaker that he is. What he like, the relationships, the the shit that you go through in life,
Hmm.
it's essentially what he channeled into films like E.T., child seeking connectivity,
Right.
all of that. And I think in so many ways, as filmmakers, we channel, uh, for sure, like the trauma that we've gone through, and
Hmm.
at the same time our fears. It's a nice canvas to paint on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I think that work for me comes from my biggest fear, which is the
Yeah.
loss of. But there's even subjects that I can't touch, with like a kid being sick, or having some. I've had an idea for a sci-fi movie with a kid with with a terminal illness, and I've not been able to write it because I don't. It's too hard, and I know families who have dealt with that, and I just couldn't. I could never bring myself to. I mean, maybe down the road, but yeah, it's a real fear, and I think that's what's universal about it, is because I do think um, we all experience it,
Yeah.
and I think that's why we respond to it.
For sure. What are the other movies that kind of influenced Descendant?
Well, the big one was Take Shelter.
Hmm.
Um, I saw that years ago, and I was just really impressed with how minimal it was. It didn't show too much, of the visions that Michael Shannon's character was having, and what was so strong about it was the relationship between him and Jessica Chastain, and I just thought that I think that movie is a masterpiece. So that was a big influence as far as the character relationship, and then Jacob's Ladder would be the other big influence because I mean essentially I it's the same frame. Descendants the same framework. It's a journey through his head through this process that is really happening. It's not all a dream. It's happening. And so I I thought that framework worked nicely for Descendant, and then of course Fire in the Sky. Obviously, if it's an alien abduction movie, it can't not be inspired by that. But yeah, mainly Take Shelter for the relationship for sure.
Speaking of relationships within the film, like Ross has that unresolved trauma with his dad, and whose character you played in the film.
Yes.
Talk to me a bit about that.
Well, yeah, when I was writing it, I got to that scene and um, I just
What made you want to cast yourself as the dad?
I missed acting. I hadn't done it in a while, um, and I knew I wanted to I I wanted some role in it, but um, but I didn't want a big role because I wanted to focus on my directing, and I felt like that would be too much. Um, and I was writing the scene, and as I was writing it, I could really feel my voice uh, come through in such a strong way that I was just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna play this role. And luckily, I had the power to to decide that, and nobody challenged me on it. But yeah, it was such a special scene to shoot, and just working with Ross and the quiet of it, and it was freezing that night,
Yeah.
and I was like shaking. Yeah, it was great. I really I miss it. I'd love to act more, but the opportunities have to be there.
Do you think you could have done the same thing if the movie was, say, not an independent film?
Oh, cast myself?
Yeah,
Probably not. Well, if I'm directing it, if they've signed off on me writing it and directing it, then I'm
probably, right?
then they probably yeah
Yeah.
yeah it's yeah.
I think that's probably something you should exercise on every film that you do.
I'd like to, but I don't want it to be like a gimmick. I don't want it to be, and I'm not going to name names of directors who do this. Um, but I think I can get away with it because I started as an actor.
You told me that that was you, and for some reason I did not connect that because I knew I had. So when I was researching you, I saw your pictures obviously, and I recognized you from Resolution.
Right.
But for some weird reason, I did not recognize that, like you on screen over there.
Yeah.
I'm
I
I'm
mean,
think I'm wondering right now, is it because you disappeared so far into that role, or like was it something that I totally missed? I don't know.
I think I did look unusually haggard.
Yeah,
The
very gruffly,
instruction.
by the way.
Yeah, the instructions to the makeup team were he needs to look like shit, and
Hmm,
so they didn't really do. And it was the last day of shooting, and so I was pretty tired, and
gotcha.
um, and my eyes were pretty red. Yeah, but I'm happy that You didn't know that was me. I just want you to experience that scene.
That I think is a really nice way for a filmmaker to not wanting to cast themselves, but like put themselves in the movie where they become their work of art, a part of their work of art too. It was nice of
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't. It should never be like. And I'm not famous enough for it to be a distraction anyway. It's not like any. I mean, there's probably a very small group of people who. I mean, and there are like the rustic guys have have a rabid fan base, but it's a very small group of people in the world that would actually recognize me and see it as a
yeah.
distraction. Most people don't know who the heck I am, and that's totally fine.
That's true. Um, what do you want to do next? Because so this was your debut feature,
Yeah.
and I do want to talk about what it was like, what it must have been like for you to go out and do a full feature, which probably is going to be my next question. But what have you planned next?
Well, so I have a script that I've been taking a lot of meetings on,
Hmm.
that is a crime comedy, set in the rural South. And I'm really excited about it. Descendant has a handful of comedic scenes in it, and I just love watching those. Those are some of my favorites. Obviously, there's the dramatic scenes that are incredible, and Sarah's monologue is heart wrenching, that she gives, when she discovers the drawing, and there's all these great performances. But I just got a kick out of the comedy, and after doing Descendant, you know, Descendant was very much a slice of time during the COVID, uh, lockdowns, and everything, all the chaos that that period brought. And coming out of it, I was feeling a bit lighter, and I just wanted to write something that was a little lighter and more fun. Still dealing with, uh, you know, some heavier themes, but in an entertaining way. So I'm hoping to get it set up somewhere, but it's still left of center. It's not a commercial film necessarily, and it is a bigger budget. So it's like, I don't know. I We'll see. But it's gotten me. The script has gotten me more meetings than any other script I've ever had. Like I think it's my best script yet, and I hope that it gets made because I think people would dig it, and they won't be confused about the ending. It's pretty clear.
That's fantastic, and I really hope you see this to completion. Like may all the
Thank you.
meetings lead to a favorable place.
I hope so.
Uh, what was it like, directing your debut feature because you had done Occupant before, and had you done anything else? Because I did not catch anything. No,
No, I had just
no.
done the short, and um, yeah, I've written a ton of things, and been on I've spent a lot of hours on sets, and so yeah, I just kind of dove
Yes.
in.
Yeah, because you never really shoot things in sequence. It's
Yeah.
almost always out of sequence, and the feature is a beast on its own. And I am about to embark on that journey
Oh,
myself.
nice.
So I'm like, shots are one thing, but a feature.
Yeah.
What was that like? One shot, and then you moved straight on to a feature.
Well, it wasn't straight. I mean, I had all this time, because the movie got shut down for a year, and then there were writer strike,
Mm.
actor strike.
Oh,
Yeah.
that happened in the middle of. Okay, okay.
Yeah, so it got stalled out. But I had ample time with my cinematographer Alex Chinichi, who's incredible, and we developed the shot list over many months. And it's a long, tedious process, and we would just say, okay, well, today we're just going to get this chunk done, or we'll spend an hour, 2 hours today, and then and you just chip away, and um, and so that was pretty much, yeah. It was just every day you get up. It's like exercising, it's like you just got to do it, and some days are harder than others, but like every day you are making a difference. You are getting a little stronger, you are losing a little bit of weight, you are getting a little faster, but it's tedious, and that's the part, like, that I don't like. There's a lot of aspects of filmmaking that are tedious, and I
Yeah.
had to work on my patience and things like that, because I get impatient, and the times that I'm most excited is when I'm talking to the actors, when we're in
Mm,
this, but that doesn't come for a very long time, or when we're working out story and things like that. But all the, like, the math of it, and it can but like, yeah, it can be a lot, but luckily I had a great, DP to help me craft this shot list, and so it didn't feel, as overwhelming. But yeah, did that answer
got
your question? I feel like I rambled
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little.
it did, and I like the part where you said, you take you crack, you chip away at it like every single day, and while you are in the process, it's not the easiest thing because consistency is never impressive in the moment, only when you zoom out and then
Yeah,
look at how far you've come.
yeah, you're just in it, and you're just doing the work, and that's what is required.
Totally. And the arduous journey of getting a film to screen, I mean, first of all, getting it made is one task, and then getting it in front of an audience, that's the remaining 50%. So, in terms of, packaging a project before you guys, go out there and like receive the funding to make it, what's your experience with that process?
That's gonna be tough to answer because it was so long ago, as far because of the year shutdown we had.
Mhm.
Uh,
Do you feel like
I
the ecosystem has changed since then?
uh, I it's still hard to get movies. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. And it's funny too, because with my producing team, like, they handle all that stuff, right? Like, and so I'm not involved in the day to day, or like what's the climate out there for getting financing or getting things greenlit. But I will say that, having Ross as our lead definitely helped, because he was on The Walking Dead. AMC Networks is one of the companies involved in our distribution. So that was a big key to getting them to sign off, and go, yeah, okay, we're gonna do this. Um, yeah, but as far as like funding goes, and distribution and all of that, I'm probably not the best person to ask, just because I don't deal with that. Thankfully, I don't really want to.
It's not the most pleasant of things for a director to be,
Oh,
wrap their head around. It's not
and
for sure.
and producers, like good producers, they shoulder a big burden, and
Mm.
I would not want to be an independent film producer, because you're just it's hard. It is hard work trying to get money for these things.
So essentially, what you did was you told Benson and Moorhead that you had this idea, and they helped take it and run, I don't know, film markets probably, and package it.
No, we just went, again, I'm trying to remember, because that stage was now over 3 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it was, well, we got Highland Film Group. We Caleb Ward and Highland on board, and then they got the financing. Like, once we had Ross, then then we were good to go, and we could cast
Gotcha.
whoever and all. Yeah, we didn't need to package it. Yeah, so once we had Ross, we could cast the film however we wanted.
Hmm. Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, it's in a way similar to what we are kind of going through as well, and again, like I would say, same skeletal structure.
Right.
The moment you cast somebody who is recognizable, the rest of it tends to be easier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I remember seeing on your socials probably that you were doing some light reading, and Communion was one of those books.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I it's funny because I would see it as a kid, but I never
Mm.
read it because it was not. Oh, I mean, I was like 7, and it's not for a
Yeah.
7-year-old.
No,
And th
no, it's not.
and then, Caleb, one of my producers, got it for me, um, during all, like, pre-production. So I finally read it, and, have you read it?
Yep.
Did you see the movie?
No, not yet.
O Okay, so it is it's one of the craziest.
Hmm.
It's insane. I don't even because it's Christopher Walken,
Yeah.
and I will not do a bad Christopher Walken impression here for you and embarrass myself, but
You
imagine
can try.
Christopher.
You can try. I'm not. I promise you, I won't edit that in.
No, but Christopher Walken talking about, getting probes shoved up his ass is one of the funniest, unintentionally one of the funniest, like, it feels like the SNL sketches where, they're all talking about being abducted, with, when they've got, like, Gosling's done it, and, but it's, oh, what's her name? Who's so brilliant? Kate, McKinnon? Yeah. Um, it's, yeah, Communion, the film is bonkers. That's all I'll say. It is bonkers. Um, yeah.
Thanks for the heads up. I will walk into it with that in mind now.
Yeah.
I want to talk a bit about Resolution,
Okay.
and then the cameo that you made in The Endless. What was it like returning? So you were one of the leads in Resolution, and then coming back to play that cameo. How many years apart was that?
Gosh.
6 or 7, six at least,
N-
more than 5 for sure.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
uh, 5 or 6. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was great. I mean, I loved doing Resolution. It was such an incredible experience. And then for it to get into Tribeca was just crazy. Nobody, uh, yeah, it was beyond our wildest expectations. I mean, made that movie for nothing, and yeah, I had wanted to, reteam with those guys, and they had the Endless, and so I went down for like a day, and Vinny lives in San Diego. He's a bartender, runs a bar in San Diego. You should follow him on Instagram. He's got some funny videos. He's nuts. I love Vinny. So yeah, we were reunited, and it was great.
Awesome. Did these guys? I probably should be asking them this question, but I'm just asking you. Like, did they have an idea for this shared universe back when they did Resolution? Because
I
the
have
whole UFO
no.
club
That's a
thing was also there.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know when they hatched that. Actually,
You should probably ask them.
you should.
Anything that you want to mention about Descendant, where it's streaming, where people can like find it?
Yeah, it's streaming everywhere. Where I know iTunes, Prime Video, Fandango, various different places you can stream. So yeah, check it out, and yeah, I think that's all I got. Check it out. Check out Descendant.
Definitely check out Descendant. One last thing. Any words of advice for upcoming filmmakers out there?
Um, yeah, just keep making things with your friends. And if you are in the privileged position to direct a film, um, keep an open mind to great ideas that may not come from you. Always maintain your vision for what you want to make, um, but be open to the creatives around you who may have ideas to make that vision even better.
Real solid advice. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for Peter.
Thank you.
This was amazing.
Could you hear my stomach gargling? Felt very loud.